I've always been under the impression, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's very, very the kind of, is it Holy Roman Empire? It's very German.
Yeah, Maximilian period, and
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 1520s. Yeah.
20.
So I suppose that would that have been the brief really for you guys, or I suppose
In our heads,
Yeah.
in our heads it was.
So I think there have been originally some Landsknecht type figures in the medieval weather worship on the men at arms range. I can't remember exactly what they're called now. Before Britannians came on as a
Britannians?
Empire, as you came up as a range, and I think there must be some talk about it, saying could be something connected with Landsknecht looking.
So Rick might.
Yeah,
Rick might become up with the full story, but we can only remember bits of it really.
Might even be down to Rick anyway. Anyway, so yeah, we did a number of drawings and then made some models and.
So got into it because obviously it's to us it was the most historical thing we could do for in workshop.
In fancy as well,
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Grounded.
Yeah, there wasn't much addition. A few plumes, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's occasional skull here and there, but it's very rare. Try to keep it away.
Yeah, I mean, questions like, did you kind of just take a look at like the armor and kind of weaponry from that time and
yeah,
they
yeah.
Sallet helmet there, I can see.
There was quite a few different sallets and bourgeonets.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, all these sort of are in the same time scale as what we were making for Empire, really. So sallets and bourgeonets, mullions, ornaments.
Really just wanted to translate that into Warhammer Fantasy, make it
Yes. Well, I think it's good to have a basis, a solid basis to start from for a range, and you couldn't get any better really than
looking at history
that time period. Yeah, for a fancy Kniggets.
And the fancy bits around it, sort of from other ranges, look even weirder if you've got something more sort of normal.
Not believable, but
believable.
Yeah,
as your founding range or as a basic range.
Yeah, sure. Can you remember any for example, like the Empire soldiers, you can equip them with sword and shield or helmets.
Yeah,
I suppose but when it came to you guys kind of sculpting that, how do you approach that? I suppose.
You see, I mean, I can't remember how we broke it down, but
no, I mean obviously.
But the arms will be separate anyway. You're talking about the plastic ones.
Yeah, the plastic one,
because that's easy enough to do, especially with sword and shield or sword and buckler.
You use the same body but different arms.
Yeah, there's no difference, just the arms.
Yeah.
Which is.
I mean, really, was Rick, I suppose, happy you guys to just kind of pick this time period as it fit with the.
I think I mean, it's somebody's idea, whether it's our idea or it's somebody else's idea, to do a whole range of. I vaguely remember going back from when we came back back to workshop, and we'd done quite a few in our own time, but it might be just my memory going. But I thought that's how it sort of started off. Yeah, as the Empire, because I don't think it was officially going to be.
I know it's a kind of a blurry period. I can't remember the details. No, I mean Dave Gallagher is a good friend of ours, and he was one of the main artists at Workshop at the time. He was very much into that period, and very much into historical stuff as well. So he was ideal for coming up with. No, he did come with ideas. Concept.
Yeah.
But I think we had it. Well, we're like him. We just have it in our head anyway, because historical stuff. So it didn't actually need much. Not really.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of I suppose, mixing and matching of unorthodox equipment? So for example, like one minute it's always stood out to me, some of the older Empire models, full plate armor, whereas then like a lot of the newer ones are more kind of Landsknecht, like puppy jackets. Perhaps with a
both existed at the same time. Okay. The high commander, high ranking men in the army would be wearing full harness and a full plate, but still underneath be wearing the fashionable clothing that don't use baggy, kind of slashed clothing, and so you get both. So the lower ranks you get kind of slashed.
You get less armour as you go down the rank.
Yeah. But so more of the clothing gets seen. So you've got big.
A lot, like say, a lot of the
sleeves and
foot soldiers are just wearing like some of the helmets behind you.
Yeah, and the breastplate.
Which was always fun to do. I mean, it takes a lot less time to make an unarmored foot soldier rather than a fully armored.
So
you're waiting a long time to go between doing a layer of armour, then you've got to overlay it with a new with tassets or something over the top of the cuisses on the legs, and so you have to
wait for
everything to dry first. But for the unarmoured lower ranks, you can probably do a whole body, well, at least from the waist up, in one go without kind of having to wait for any drying time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I suppose jumping off from that then, like, I don't know if you remember the Bike Scarp, the Knights. They're very plate armour.
Oh, yeah.
Is it like Venators? I'm trying to think what the historical... That's the Dogs of War unit, and I'm trying to think...
Velociraptors. No. No, I couldn't... no.
I mean, full plate. That was... Yeah, with double-handed swords. They needed something really tough. I mean...
For the rules,
and obviously when you're using a double-handed sword, you don't use a shield, so the thing is going to be heavily armoured.
You wouldn't necessarily wear full harness because you're a little bit more restricted, kind of using a
slightly,
you feel almost balletic to actually use one. But I can't remember.
So would you say it's a range you enjoyed sculpting then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We talked about Chaos Wars before.
Yeah. Not my bag really, but it's interesting to do.
Yeah.
But this was great because I mean, I think it probably tells because we actually painted up a whole army. Because Friday afternoons, Rick would come into our office and say, "Do you want a game?" And so we usually play tested some sort of rules, and so we started painting up armies for Friday afternoons really. And Empire was the only army, I think. Was it Empire, wasn't it? Painted up ourselves without being asked to or anything.
I suppose the nice thing for you guys, particularly with the Empire, is you can, like you said, it's kind of grounded in history a bit, so you can kind of make use of real military colours and to a degree.
Actually, it's one of the things we wanted to make sure the heraldry for the Empire and actually for Britannia as well was correct.
So, in the laws of heraldry.
Yeah. So you don't have colour on colour, and you don't have metal on metal. So white is argent in heraldry, so silver, and the gold is ore. So you wouldn't have something yellow on top of white or white on top of yellow, and you wouldn't have something blue on top of green. So we stuck to that when we were working out kind of flags and things for the Empire.
Yeah, well, were you involved in any of those kind of?
Yeah.
Oh, quite, yeah. It was. I say you'll see in some of the sketches that
all flags laid out, or sketches or ideas of what they should look like. Yeah.
And we at one point we did the whole all the Empire. With sort of somewhere around is just a painting of all the heraldry.
And the
in colour and liveries.
And the liveries of the troops that fought for that particular region of the Empire.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I think it was appeared in White Dwarf.
I think it was.
There is a book, like you'd born and
right,
yeah.
So a lot of that then was your work?
Initially, yes.
It might have changed a few times since then. But originally, yeah.
And I think Dave Gallagher was involved in that as well. But,
He, it's historical.
He does.
So,
yeah.
I suppose with the iconography then of the actual heraldry, was that something that would have been? I appreciate maybe.
That was probably more. I think it's just collective.
Yeah. It's kind of in our heads as well. I mean, you know what you can get away with. You wouldn't put penguin on it, looking at a picture of a penguin on a stand because it's just not appropriate for the period or time. But we knew what should be there. Yeah, for that time period.
But there's probably other things going on at the same time that Rick or whoever were sorting out. Like these need an eagle or something, or line or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Would generally go with what Rick said.
Yeah.
He's quite an intelligent bloke.
Could you talk about the artillery then that the Empire had? Obviously, one of the main things they got is a great cannon.
That was, as far as I know, made by Tim
Yeah,
Adcock.
I think that was Tim, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's
You
about
had
it.
any
Really.
input, can you remember on?
Well, Tim knows his stuff as well. He's a historical buff as well, and he's really into artillery.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't know what he was doing, but obviously he had to fantasize it a bit.
Yeah.
But he kept it within the sort of period, it's the 16th century, roughly 16th century
Yeah.
artillery piece, and but sort of bulked up a bit. Or
Yeah.
Warhammer,
The same goes for the mortar as well.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, he did that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, he would have kept it in historical sort of realms, but into the fantasy as well. So
I suppose really the same kind of questions. I mean,
Yeah.
Tony then obviously is a lot more, kind of off the face of it, a lot more plate mail compared to
well, no plate mail.
chain mail, perhaps.
Yeah, my chainmail is just Jordan.
What is it?
Isn't mail? Yeah.
It was never called chainmail until
Sorry.
about 1840.
Oh, wow.
Because it looked a bit like chain. I think that's what.
Yeah, okay. Talk to me about the armor then for Bretonia. What was the inspiration behind that? What was the historical references?
Oh well,
1460s.
1360s.
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 Yeah, 1350, 1360, that sort of time.
What region?
Well, European, actually, really quite French,
Yeah,
English.
English, yeah.
There's loads of effigies from the period, and loads of illustrations, so you can get a nice sort of view of the overall look, and it's very high fantasy. So it fitted well, but I think the thing that started out was it Chivalry? I can't remember if Chivalry came off first or came along first or not, because Chivalry was a project that which was based in that period, around about that period.
Yeah, Alan, myself, and Nigel Stilton.
And Jervis
And Jervis.
were involved with.
Yeah.
Is this another project? Sorry, another
Yeah, Games Workshop.
For Games Workshop, yeah.
I think it's pre-Bretonian because the Bretonians afterwards were the figures we made. I might go getting the wrong way around, but I think the figures we made for Chivalry were used for Bretonians
Okay, sure.
because we spent a long time making figures, and Brian Ansell had this big plan of doing a monthly magazine on
Just
Chivalry.
on that period.
Just on that period, keeping it quite historical actually.
Including kind of
Nigel was going
campaign ideas and
and a weekly magazine and a
monthly,
monthly magazine.
not weekly. That would
But there's only four.
Nigel would have.
No, monthly. But even that was too much for 4 people. It's just say me, Michael, and Jefferson, and Nigel, and Jervis was called away to do other things fairly soon after. So Nigel was the only one on the magazine, and they're all.
And he also had work to do for Workshop in general. For
Because he would have been right for war.
yeah,
Yeah.
stacking shelves. No,
Yeah. So after quite a few months of us making quite a lot of figures, and Nigel doing quite a bit of work, and Jervis doing a reasonable amount of work, but he left quite soon afterwards. Left the project. It fizzled out because Brian had pushed too much onto too few people, and but the figures were left, and I think that's probably why, or how they turned into Bretonians, because we'd made them during the work time.
Sure.
But again, I might be getting that wrong. There might have been
I think it was that way around. Yeah.
Can you remember any? Obviously, the cavalry is the kind of bread and butter of Tonia. Can you talk about sculpting those ranges? So I don't know if you can remember, but you got a series of kind of I don't know what the word is. You got Knights of the Realm, which are kind of the Bristol Knights, and then Questing Knights and Thuriel Knights. Can you talk about like the differences between how do you kind of take the same basic idea?
Well,
it was really just. I think Rick saying, "Can we have? We need these
four classes." Knights errant were really supposed to be almost like squires. I think. I seem to remember, not quite so heavily armoured, were they? I think.
Sure.
But the Grail Knights, we just had to add some kind of Grail device to the top of their heads, and there you have it, Grail Knight. For
The
the
Knights there's Knights Panther. Oh, no, that's Empire. Empire. Sorry.
yeah,
But yeah, sorry.
questing Knights, which I don't think we did for even though some of the bodies I think we used, but somebody else did, because I was looking at them just recently, and I don't remember doing them. And
I think Gary Morley mapped that.
yeah,
Nothing in mind.
I was looking back
Yeah.
at some of the boxes for
okay.
the 5th edition, and it does say there's a few names. Your name is on there.
Well, we did the horses that they would have used, and possibly dollies for the knights that he might have just used and remade for the questing knights. Yeah, because I wouldn't put, and Alan wouldn't put a figure in that position, nor with that weapon, type of thing.
Just to do that, especially on horseback.
Yeah. But I think they were kind of all based on the the original knights, and then just bits added to them. I mean, the questing knights, so everything on their backs, isn't they? And a sink, and
Yeah.
so
We wouldn't have done it that much.
probably not. Yeah,
I don't think.
that's what we're told to.
But that was, I think, when Gary, it was about quite a few years later, and Gary Morley was working on the second range of those.
Second version.
Fresh.
They did,
The
yeah.
5th edition fantasy, and they did get a bit more
Fantasy.
fantasy.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were a little more.
Oh, they're definitely historical for. Yeah, completely. Yeah, we did loads of. I seem to remember doing loads of mounted squires, different variations.
Yeah, there is a whole bunch of them.
I mean, there's more than probably we made more than actually was out ever. I think we made about 20 or something.
Something like that. We should. They were never going to sell the full range.
But nobody told us to stop anyway. So it was too late.
Stopping squires.
Yeah, we're being paid for it, and it's fun. We're doing making historical figures.
Well, could we talk about the Green Knight?
I can do, but I have to do it in hushed terms. No, okay. No, I think it was all just inspired by Mark Gibbons' painting of Green Knight. I think it's that way around, wasn't it? He didn't base it on the figure I made. No, I think I based it on his painting, and thought, oh yeah, that works, and it's very much like a pre-Raphaelite style. The painting and the flowing, flowing clothing.
It's always struck me as very like Arthurian, like very, you imagine it as like the Mabinogion or something like that, perhaps.
Yeah. I enjoyed making it. Yeah, it was fun to do. Yeah.
Was it before your injury?
It was the last thing you made before the injury.
Yeah, it was. That's right. Yeah.
It was online as well.
Yeah, lucky you had finished it before it
Yes.
got blown off.
Yeah. And I think the first thing I made for workshop afterwards was a model of my girlfriend at the time, which was the Joan of Arc figure with kind of a sword.
Oh yeah, that's.
I can't remember the name of it.
Rapance de Lyonesse, I think it is.
Could be. Sounds familiar. She's on horseback with a short haircut, kind of a bowl crop. Not bowl crop.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Hall Lanchenic made first.
Yeah, but that didn't get.
Oh, it didn't go
sold
out
anyway.
No, it didn't.
No, that's the first figure that ended up going out for workshop and being sold, I think. Yeah.
But that's a sort of Empire, well, more Lanchenic actually. Empire.
What?
The first thing you made wasn't it?
Oh yes, after the accident, the first figure was like an Empire figure, an Lanchenic, yeah.
But it didn't get released.
Oh no. I think there's a few metals are going out. It was cast, so a few people had it, I think, but no, it wasn't in production.
Well, who painted your? Who painted your one? Is it Mike Mavone or?
Yes, I think it probably was. Yeah,
because you got that at home
somewhere. Yeah.
You might get a picture of it. You might not on this.
God, I'm not going to find.
Oh, right.
It's going to be ages. Find the Catachan, the female Catachan figure. I did find it in the end, which was nice.
So, I mean, do you have any closing statements, I suppose. It's been the game Warhammer Fantasy has obviously kind of been, resurrected now, and a lot of your sculpts are now available again.
Yeah, it's amazing. After 40,
I'm very happy to hear it, but
no, it's nearly 40 years. Yeah. Well, some of them actually are probably after.
yeah, it's a shame we're not getting royalties.
Yeah, yeah, we quite are. Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Workshop seems to be going from strength to strength at the moment.
Yeah, really surprised to see them. Our old figures out again. But, it's quite nice to see. Actually, not just slightly different. The Lord of the Rings figures when they came out, some of the original ones, which I don't ever saw released.
Yeah,
Like the Lake Town people.
some of the held back a bit. Yeah, yeah.
And oh, that's good. They're actually being released.